Hello and welcome to this episode of the Free to Be podcast, and I'm here today with Amy Crippen, who is a holistic nurse coach, a holistic wellbeing coach, and also works in clinical research with nurses as well. And Amy and I met when I joined Michael Neal in a Circle Facebook group, and we connected on a post that I shared in that group. And ever since then, we've just stayed in touch. And I can't speak for you, but for me, I feel like we resonate on just a really upbeat, positive vibe. And it's one of the things that I really like about what I see you share and how you come across is just this really natural, upbeat energy. And so I'm so happy that you agreed to come and chat with me today and that you and I could have this conversation, because I'm really curious to just hear more about your experience and also to talk a little bit about the wellness brand that you're currently creating and what's inspiring you to bring that into being and how you work and how you operate as an individual and as a coach. So I'd love to just open up this conversation with you. But welcome, Amy. Thank you for coming along.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. And I love that you brought up the post, because I saw that post and it was like the picture of the earth, right? And it was like the earth before your opinion and the earth after. And it's like, it's the same. I was like, that's my kind of sassy lady. I got to get to know her because I got that same sass in me. And it's interesting how we can get fooled by our opinions as being fact, right? And it's a truth. Sometimes it's a truth for us, but it's not a truth for everyone, right? Yeah. And so I love that you posted that. I was like, she's my kind of lady. I got to get to know her.
Amazing. It's one of the things that I definitely feel more inclined to do is being honest about my experience rather than feeling like I have to share my experience in a way that sounds good or sounds impressive to anybody else. Like, I find it so enriching to just express my experience as it is. And so that post really kind of resonated with that, because it doesn't matter. Ultimately, we live our lives for the time that we're here, but universal energy, life as a whole, will continue on. So why not just get the most amount of experience while we're here, while we have the opportunity to do that?
Yeah, and there's something really beautiful about knowing that that's what's backing us, right? Knowing that what is on offer, that life lives within us too, right? And that we are alive to that. And I think in my own personal experience, I was asleep to that for a very long time, and in my personal upbringing, that it wasn't explained in a way that my heart understood it. I always kind of felt like as a little kid that I had a different type of understanding, a unique compassion, that was pretty effortless for me to share with others. And I think that's what kind of got me into being a nurse, but I also had a lot of hesitancy in going into nursing because I had, like my intellectual brain had a lot of like, you can't do that. That's going to be hard. And I've just found that nursing just fits me so well, in so many ways. And then also, kind of found how nursing as a profession, I can see areas, especially in the US, which is where I live, of our roles as nurses and, bringing that actual healing presence to the bedsides. We have to take care of ourselves to be able to bring it. That's something that nurses and healthcare providers sometimes aren't great at, because we give so much of our energy to others, that we tend to not focus it back at rejuvenating for ourselves. Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly that one of the most healing experiences that I've had in my life in relation to other people has been experiencing the presence of other people in my environment. and how their presence is what reflects the healing that I have within me back to me and reminds me that healing is possible. And so if a nurse is unable to offer that healing presence because they've been drained, depleted through heavy work schedules or a lack of time and resources to be able to take care of themselves, then I can see how that absolutely ripples out into them being unable to offer that healing presence in their work as well, and how that can then just become, I imagine, just an awful experience for them if they're unable to feel healthy and well in their work environment. So how do you address that as a wellness coach, as a nurse? How do you, in your work, offer that understanding and that ability for nurses to stay well and healthy?
I think for me, it started out as a journey of needing to reinfuse that within myself, and I needed a reboot. And then I realized, started sharing that, and then I kind of got this oh, you want to be a coach? What's that? It just this insight, and it just felt like a calling and a pull. And I actually didn't even realize that nurse coaching was an opportunity. I didn't realize I could stay in my profession. It kind of made me sad. I was like, I worked so hard to be a nurse. I'm just going to leave and go do this thing. That pull was so big that I started following it. I just started getting curious about it. And interesting enough, through the inner circle, Michael Neal's inner circle, I made some post and somebody responded and was like, oh, did you know there's this holistic nurse coach certification in the principles you've been learning about? And I'm like, what? I could be doing this in my profession? Ah, wisdom. Oh, it struck. I got on that call, signed up for it. I don't know how many months ago. And it's just been following those little nuggets of wisdom and sharing it and being a light, being the example of it, right? And then encouraging and loving and infusing that activism within others to show them you can. And it doesn't have to be wellness does not have to be what people make it to be. It can be exactly what fits you like a glove, And if it fits you like a glove, then isn't that more intrinsically motivating to do the things that make you feel good than what you think you should do? So that's so much of what I work as. It's very fluid. My coaching is very fluid, and it's like co-creating something with somebody and allowing them to be themselves. I love it. I love witnessing people blossom into who they're meant to be.
Oh, it's an amazing experience. And even as an individual, just seeing how beautiful life is when it is being everything that it was designed to be is the essence of nature. It's one of the things I love about being alive is witnessing life around me. And I'm really interested to know how following nuggets of wisdom is for you. What does that feel like, or what is your experience of following inner wisdom?
So it's interesting because I felt, when I really woke up to a different awareness of it, a different level of really trusting it, it's you could go back in your memory and go, oh my gosh, I've been following this all along, and it's been guiding me, but layered on top of the guidance was a lot of indecision and worry and anxiety and stress and all this layered thinking on top of what was really always on offer, which was a quiet, peaceful state of mind. And I still get in those states. I still get really excited or anxious or, I'm human. I still feel the feels of being human. But knowing that inner compass is always there. What actually comes to mind so much more is getting quiet, not making choices out of haste, or overexcitement or whatever it is. And what I'm finding is it just has a different quality than like, my intellectual brain figuring out everything. It just kind of pops in, and it's very like quiet, and it's very like, it doesn't always like logically make sense, like in a linear fashion. But it just seems like when I make those little things, I'm like the unfolding of like magnet stuff just falling in my lap afterwards. Like things I could have never predicted or ever thought were possible just start opening up in a way that's, in some ways really exciting and new for me, that I have to be like, oh my gosh, it's like everything's happening so fast, and I try to like settle down. But yeah, so I guess the biggest thing is knowing I really can't make a wrong turn. Left, right, this or that. It's not always clear, but it seems like I always end up back on track of where I'm supposed to be going.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of comfort in that.
Oh, amazing. So much comfort. And how it makes sense to me is the realization that we can feel our way through life, and we can feel for our path and our personal journey through this experience. And the feeling through life is what I find feels really nice and good, because I know that I never have to put myself into a position or make a decision that doesn't feel good. Like there's always that intelligence within that guides me, and just knowing that there are infinite ways that my life can play out means that, like you say, you can never take a wrong turn, because even if a turn that you take ends up being the wrong one for you at that time, you can just change direction, and that's always available. Like that ability to change direction is never out of our experience. It's always there. So, and like, to me, it's kind of like if I'm moving in a direction and I hit what feels like a brick wall, I just change direction. Like I don't worry about what did I do to get there or how much time I've invested in moving in that direction. I just go a different way and find the path of least resistance and that gentle flow. And for me, it kind of ties into like Zen and Tao wisdom, just that easy path. And there is so much action in that. Like it feels like it would be a path of doing nothing, but there's actually a lot of doing that happens in just following that natural path.
Yeah, the doing it just comes along. I don't know. It's more of an adventure to me. Like it feels more like an adventure. And there's something that you said that really resonated with me. That resistance actually feels uncomfortable now to me. Like I love that feeling of, and I can feel like you said, like the brick wall, I can feel like the energy kind of is just like, it needs to be pointed in a different direction. I can just feel it, and then like once it's like unclogged again, it's like, oh, look at that. Oh, here's this thing. Here's that thing, and the flow and energy behind you, that momentum just naturally building within you to bring form to what you're seeing as possible is just there. It's like mind blowing after years of my life thinking it was so hard to just see like, oh no, actually that was me creating a lot of imaginary blocks, but not channeling my energy in the right direction. So there's information and the uncomfortable feelings sometimes for me, like, and there's a little bit of pondering and introspectiveness of going, oh, is this coming from my like personal mind or my impersonal mind? I can tell the difference, right? Like all that like anger or sadness and those feelings, like they really just kind of feel like my ego's kind of hurt. like my ego's really tender, And then that like impersonal part of myself is just like love and like compassion and just totally like, oh, okay, whatever. That one thing didn't work out. So just do this other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It doesn't have all that weight on the outcome of things because it's kind of infinite and amazing. And it's just going to be there waiting for the next thing.
Amazing. Absolutely.
Mm.
Totally hear where you're coming from and would love to know more about your wellness brand and what that looks like and what that involves and includes for people.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I was very resistant for a while of like creating my own personal brand. I think a little bit of that, like, I'm trying to explain it, but like a little bit of that like self insecurity of like, it's Amy Crippen doing this thing, like a little bit of that. And I like wanted a business partner and I wanted to call it something different. And I didn't want to make it a personal brand. And then the more and more I really started seeing, the different, programs that I was creating, you know, the different, creative insights that I was having and the people I was working with. It's kind of what coaching is. It really often, it is a personal brand. I mean, it is you as a coach, but you're also evolving, with your coaching. And so a really beautiful thing about, doing this, I can just evolve, you know, and it seems like I meet the right clients that are, right where I'm at, you know, and I can help them with the transformation. It's just, you know, like, you know, it's a really good, fit. But some of the things that were really, really important for me too is, you know, how do you create a brand that's inclusive for all bodies, right? For wellness. And I'm not just talking about different sizes, you know, different capabilities, right? How do you create a wellness brand that's diverse and speaks to diversity? How do you bring a wellness brand that actually speaks against social harm? You know, like these are the things that are on my mind. How do I bring my nursing, right? Like my nursing skills into that, and help the community. And so, as I was really pondering this, I realized, you know, it just kind of came through me, like, it's not really like, because the big thing out there is your signature program, create a signature program, and that's you. And I realized, like, I kind of have a signature approach. You know, like I approach wellness to be able to embody that, to be fluid enough to co-create a wellness plan with somebody. And what I always do with my clients is it's like, be active. Move your body the way it feels good for you. You know, it doesn't have to be like I have to do yoga or I have to do this or I have to, you know, I have to do cardio to lose weight. Like move your body because it feels good. You know, and if I'm really meeting somebody exactly where they're at, then it can include all bodies and all capabilities because they know themselves best and they know what feels good for them. And I can love and support them discovering that wellness looks like how it fits you, you know? And I'm getting really curious. I'm really curious about new things because we kind of make up a lot of stories about self-care or the lack of ability to do self-care. Like, I don't have time. I have too many things on my plate. And so it's like really getting curious about how you see the world too, and what you see is up against you and what you see has going on for you. And tapping into that well-being, like uncovering your essence and really saying where the feeling of well-being comes from.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really loving it. It's like just kind of coming through me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a fun exploring.
I think it's a beautiful place to create from, uncovering the essence and seeing what flows through. And then if you find that for yourself, you can offer that understanding to others to find what well-being means for them. So one of the things that I'm uncovering at the moment is an understanding of self-care from within, because I think that we have so many external messages about what wellness looks like, and we can become so confused and lost in knowing what actions to take to look after ourselves as we go through life. And I think that once, as an individual, you uncover that essence and understanding of you are the universal God/goddess self, and also the one being taken care of by that self, you can kind of grasp that you are never out of reach of being able to take care of yourself and being able to feel well. And it sounds like that's what you share with the people that you work with and the people that you support, is let's uncover this understanding that you are naturally well and that you can take care of yourselves, and how can I encourage and support you to do that? It sounds really beautiful. Like, do you have any exciting ideas or plans for how you want to approach it and how you want it to look?
Yeah. So, I mean, I really want to, it really is just coming from that foundational piece of be active, be curious, be well, but really getting people to unleash and unlock, that within themselves. And so, I'm offering things like one-to-one coaching, I'm offering group sessions, I'm doing masterminds. And it's just like, I'm looking at creating a podcast, I'm looking at, starting a YouTube, and I'm just allowing it to kind of unfold at its own pace, because I do work full time. I do enjoy, right now I'm doing, something with nurses, and I'm hoping to expand that into, all healthcare workers. And so, it's allowing it to kind of unfold, into that space. And I think podcasts are such a beautiful way to not only like get your message out and have your voice heard, but allow others to come on like this conversation, right? And to me, they're really one of the things that the coaching world turned me off in the beginning was like this, like, it's a quick way to make 6 figures, and that wasn't what, that wasn't what I felt was calling me. Like, I didn't feel like money was calling me to like create this new journey. And so I had a little bit of a rough time in the beginning finding like, I guess, a mentor, that like aligned with me. And I think there's a lot of people out there for wellness, who find a rough time finding a plan that aligns with them, and so that's what I love about just, being able to take, that fluid stance of meeting people where they're at and co-creating, like I said, like a masterclass together, or I'm very like into like, a communal care, what do you need?
Yeah.
And how can I bring that to life and activate that for you too?
Yeah. Lovely. And is it that kind of what can you bring to the community that inspired you to want to be a nurse? I'm interested to know what brought you to nursing and into doing that role in the community.
Yeah, so I actually spent a week in the ICU years ago, and just that care that the nurses gave me definitely inspired. It was kind of a turning point in my life afterwards, and I started going to school, and I convinced myself that nursing was too hard, or like I was a single parent at the time. So like, can I really work those weird hours and take care of my baby, and that sort of stuff. So I decided to go for dental hygiene. And in these courses for dental hygiene, I met other nurses because a lot of the stuff overlapped, and I just kind of realized I could do that. Like, why invest all this time doing the wrong thing? Like all this effort and time. It seems like I'm not supposed to do that. Plus I had a boss at the time who used to always joke with me and tell me that I would be the worst dental hygienist ever because I talk too much. He's like, you're going to be in people's mouths. They're not going to be able to answer all your questions. And I was like, he's probably right. He's actually probably onto something. I should probably just be a nurse.
I love that. It kind of speaks to what we were saying earlier about how you can move in a direction and just realize that it's so easy to just change direction. And I absolutely agree with you. Like, why would you invest time and money and energy into doing something that you kind of don't really want to do, but think that it's your only option? And I think there's something in just taking those risks and really allowing yourself to trust that life will support you in doing what you actually want to do and to move in the direction that you actually want to go in. And I think just letting go and allowing yourself to trust that inner wisdom and guidance and desire and calling to move in the direction that you want to. And I totally hear you on what you were saying earlier about the coaching industry and how it kind of has two faces, or what I've seen of it. I'm not a coach myself, but I'm connected to a lot of different coaches and have seen the industry as a person who has been coached, and also just somebody who has friends that are coaches and of hearing their experiences. And I've seen that kind of earn 6 figures in a month side of coaching, and it just feels like, to me, I'm naturally a very slow and lazy person. And like, what comes to my mind when I think about that, I'm like, how do people like generate that much enthusiasm like consistently all the time? Like, I would just be quite happy to just drink a cup of tea and eat biscuits in pajamas for the rest of my life. Like, that would be my life made. Like, how do people find the energy and enthusiasm to like generate 6 figures of income? And then I also see the other side of it where those coaches are often quite knackered and actually not very happy, Mm-hmm. But then there's like this other side of coaching that I've seen that's just really beautiful and has a lot of depth and value, and the kind of conversations that can be really transformational. And it sounds like that's what you're tapping into now, is just that co-creation, understanding that you have a role to play as a coach and that you can work with people in allowing them to get the most out of their lives, in a way that feels good for you as well. So I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah, and you made me laugh with because I am one of those really high enthusiastic people. It annoys some people. Oh my gosh, some people are so annoyed by it. They're like, and then Amy just comes in and she thinks everything's great. And I do get mad and I do get upset, but I do tend to really, I just kind of am one of those really empathetic, open, loving people. It really is my nature. And I also am super fast and super high energy, and I do get in these like habits, of like overexpending myself, because while it's like on, I like almost don't realize how powerful it is, but that it's also not always that intense, and that I need to allow like a happy, like wave, instead of like a like a crash in the energy. So, but it's been fun for me to to kind of open up with those pieces of myself, you know, and hear feedback from people. And some other coaches, they say that about me too. They're like, you're just so energetic all the time. And I'm like, I don't know. I guess it's just me. I didn't realize it.
Well,
or the coffee. I'm not really sure what that is.
It's one of the things that I really love about you is the energetic, high vibe feelings that you bring, or that I as a witness of you experience and see. Like, it's one of the things that I really enjoy about our relationship. And I think that it's not so much about what comes across as much as it is about how it feels to express that. And I guess what I was speaking to before wasn't to say that enthusiasm is a bad thing or that it shouldn't be there. It was more about those times when individuals feel like they have to be enthusiastic when it's not naturally apparent for them to be that, and how kind of damaging and destructive that can be for a person to feel like they have to be on that kind of high energetic vibe all the time. And feeling like they have to do that in order to sustain their business or the activities that they're doing. But, you know, that kind of high energy enthusiasm, like, if it's naturally there, it's fucking beautiful, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
I like what you said too, because, you know, I have experienced long periods of depression in my life, you know, and I still come across as like a very high, enthusiastic, happy person because, you know, there have been times where I've kind of faked it a little bit, you know, like, but then there is just kind of like, that is kind of just my natural essence. It's kind of like that. And I can be depressed and be like that too at the same time. And that's just, you know, very interesting. But how often, when you have people who kind of have that high vibe like I do, or that energy, often people don't see the sadness that those types of individuals can have and can carry, you know, and we get fooled by it. Like, I think people, when I started actually being open about my experience of, you know, suffering from PTSD and anxiety and depression, when I actually started telling people that was my internal world and internal experience, but I was walking around really happy a lot of the time too. You can have both going on.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that I love about the work that you do is it's about tending to that inner world. You know, it's not just about what we do as individuals and how we live our lives, but the motivations behind it, and actually how that inner experience is so much more rich and expansive than we can often allow it to be when we're living within the kind of rules of conditioning on you know, and how we should be. And I think, yeah, just exploring that inner world and recognizing that there can be so much going on within us that we may not express or share is it's one of the wonderful things about having these kinds of conversations as well. You know, just having open conversations with people and saying, this is my experience, and feeling that there's no judgment in that, or there's no expectation for you to be any particular way, that you can just ride the wave of your natural energy and your natural feelings. It's such a beautiful way to be, I think, and I love that you're sharing that with people.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's definitely something about just sitting with somebody and their experience. You know, so often we're in those conversations and we know it's uncomfortable to feel a certain way. So we feel like we're listening not to just witness, to be part of it, you know, be part of the moment. Sometimes we're listening to fix. or listening to make feel better. It's like sometimes somebody just wants to share. Like the space within us actually does transform that on its own, but sometimes we just want to, sometimes grief just needs to be witnessed, so that it can like be released.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Just that presence is for me, one of the most healing, reassuring experiences as a human being that I have experienced. Feeling just the presence of another person and knowing that, yeah, there's no intention to fix or do anything. It's just about being there as somebody to hear and witness that experience and then seeing what happens as a result of that. Like it's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing to be part of, definitely.
Yeah. And something I've really been kind of like a inquiry for myself that I've been exploring is this idea of like being versus becoming. And how, to me, like being births becoming, right? Like it births it, but we don't need to be in a state of becoming because we already are enough in our being, and that's just really been like something I've been like exploring more and more.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing because there is so much, there is just infinite potential in being. Everything is open from that place of being who you are in that moment and knowing that that is absolutely enough and all you ever need to be, and everything arises from that experience.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so lovely.
So lovely.
We said it at the same time. Yeah.
So, I mean, this has been an absolute joy and pleasure to talk to you, and I'm happy to kind of end our conversation here for today, but I wonder if there's anything else that you would like to share before we finish for today.
Yeah, I think there's just one thing I want to say, which is, when we're looking at our well-being and our wellness, it is taking care of mind, body, and soul. It's really seeing the wholeness that already exists, no matter what your biology is, what your genetics are, what your circumstances are, your past, your present, whatever you've been up against. It doesn't take away the wholeness of who you are, and it's okay if the current moment is bringing uncomfortable experiences. That doesn't mean that there isn't a moment arising to transform that, and so just getting really curious about what's on offer when we back ourselves fully in being who we already are.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing everything that you shared today, and I'm so excited to see your wellness, your personal brand develop, and the work that happens in you being who you are and sharing how people can be who they are, and that kind of natural wellspring that we have within us. Like, I'm just really excited to see that unfold for you, and wish you all the best with it, and would love to include some links in the description for how people can get in touch with you if they're interested to hear more about what you're doing. And I would love to invite you on again at some point in the future if you're up for doing that. And
I would love it.
Maybe we can just keep up to date on how you're getting on with things.
Absolutely. I think it would be so fun.
Yay! All right, well, thank you so much for today, Amy. It's been lovely to chat.
Yes, it's been absolutely lovely. I appreciate it.